Well, I'm very excited on behalf of Total Acre to have you guys on today for BioTrop. I think we've started on a really good note, this relationship moving forward. We have about 18 winter wheat trials out. One of those are with Brad Weaver, who's on this call right now as well. And we have about 10 cover crop studies out. So just for the fall, we're almost at 30 trials out with you guys. And then moving into the spring, we're looking at over 50, hopefully, that we're getting in for corn and soybeans. So will be a considerable trial data set for your products moving forward. So just want to give a brief introduction for you guys. So Luis Vigolo, product development specialist for BioTrop, and then Matthias Giarto, head business for North America. Don't want to steal your thunder just yet about introductions, but again, have Brad Weaver on here. I'm going to let each of you go through and introduce yourself. So let's go ahead and start with you, Luis. I think talk a little bit about your background for those who don't know, because I think it adds a lot of credibility to what you're going to get into today.
Okay, that's great. First of all, thanks a lot, Bryce. And I would like to thank Brad and Brian as well for giving us the space and time to talk a little bit about our experience and what we have been doing here in the US and the amazing partnership we're building with Total Acre. As you already said, my name is Luis. I come from Brazil, as you might notice from my accent, right? Um, I have been an agronomist and work in farming industry for more than a decade now, born and raised in my family's farm. For some personal reasons, I took a little too long to start working on that industry. We don't have to go into full detail, but I got connected again with farming and all that passion that it takes to be a farmer once I hit a certain age. And long story short, I started working for one of the major farming companies in Brazil. It's called Bom Jesus Group. It's the fourth largest farming company, farming operation. They farm around 1 million acres a year, double cropping, soybeans, corn, and cotton. 4,000 employees, direct employees. So it's a huge operation. I started there as an intern. Later, I moved on to research supervisor, field agronomic coordinator for the greatest part of my career. I was in charge of a 70,000 acre farming complex looking for soybean seed production, soybean production, corn and cotton production, also pastures and cattle. So it was pretty intense. In Brazil, we have this joke that we never can take vacation because once you take cotton out of the game, you already have to destroy it and plant soybeans again. So too bad for us, no winter, no vacation. Um, my last 3 years there, I was their precision ag and research manager. Throughout my whole career, I have been dealing with biologicals. I was the one who brought up this subject in the company. I was the one who always evaluated it. And in my previous position, my last position there, I was the one in charge of evaluating all kind of inputs and technologies before the company added them to their crop management programs. So I have gone through almost everything you can imagine, from foliar fertilizers to almost bottled miracles. And I have dealt with a lot of good and bad products and evaluating several biological companies. That's how I got to know BioTrop, right? So I was their customer before I worked with them. 7 years ago, when they came to us, at first I was a little bit skeptical because, although I am a huge biological aficionate and I really believe in that and I really always wanted to work with that. I always was like, okay, tell me what you've got, let me see how it happens. After our first and second years trying out products, we started this amazing partnership. So they became um, one of our major partners in biological solutions back there, and it's still like that until today. Why am I working with Biotrop now? Because I moved to the US with my wife last year. She got a fellowship for her postdoc here at the USDA, and I saw that they started business here. So I said, "Hey guys, I see you're here, so I know your product. So why don't we start something together?" And that's how I ended up working with them. So thanks, Mateus, for the opportunity. And here I am as
Thank you.
That's incredible. Thank you, Luis. Yeah, we're happy to have you. And everything's bigger in Brazil, right? I can't imagine trying to help manage a 1 million acre farming operation. I mean, that just blows my mind. I don't even know how that's possible, but congratulations, I guess.
thank you.
But now I want to hear from you, Matthias. I know that you have a considerable background. I remember you talking about your previous work with Bayer, so I wanted to allow you a minute to, get into that and give your background.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I would like to thank you, uh, Bryce. Thank you, all Total Acre team. Thank you, Brad, and all the growers that open their doors to us, right, for us to test some of the products. So a big thank you again. Very excited to be here with you this morning. My name is Mateus Guerato, but I also go by Matt. This is just like Matthew, right? Just in Portuguese. So, as Luis, I'm also from Brazil, and we're very lucky, first of all, to have Luis here in our team, right? So he told all the story. I think we're very, very lucky and very blessed to have him and all his experience working with us here in growing, expanding this business into North America.
Thanks,
So
Mateus.
today I'm the business leader for North America, so US and Canada. BioTrop has been present here since about 3 years, doing regulatory and trial work, and since this year, 2025, commercially. Okay. My background, as you asked here, Bryce, I also, as Luis said, I started my career working some large-scale agricultural operations back there in Brazil. And then I joined the industry, right? I joined the crop protection industry. And in total, I spent 12 years, more or less, of my career working with two of the largest multinational companies in crop protection in local, regional, and global roles. Part of that work I was based out of Brazil. Part of that work I was based out of the USA. Uh, Initially living in Raleigh, North Carolina. Now I'm based out of Gainesville, Florida, which has a weather that is closer to what I'm used to in Brazil. But um, we are establishing our bases there. We have an incredible lab already starting operations, and very exciting things coming up, right? After I left the multinationals, I had a consulting firm for a while. And the interesting story, as Luis told us, how he came to work with BioTrop, um, my story is that BioTrop was one of my first customers as a consultant. So my company was doing for them the business planning, the investment plan for North America, the go-to-market strategy. So everything related to planning the business to get started really in 2025. And I got offered to go back to some of the companies that I was working in the past, and I didn't accept. Uh, and then after I worked for Biotrop in 3 projects as a contractor, and I started seeing the technology. I visited their facilities in Brazil, research farm, 100-acre research farm, amazing technology, one of the most modern manufacturing plants in the world. Um, and I saw the results of the products here in the field in US, in Brazil. Um, I, I I made my mind, and when I was invited to take this role, I accepted because I want to be part of this next revolution in agriculture, right? And I truly believe that biologicals can add a lot of value, not to fully replace anything that is used today, but add a lot of value in combination, integrated management practices, right? So that's all about me today. Thank you so much again for the space.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the introduction there. I want to flip over to Brad real quick. We're going to get into, your trial individually, Brad, here in just a little bit, but I did want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself in your pantry nonetheless. I know you do a lot of trials for us and do a great job at those trials. So I just wanted to give you a chance to introduce yourself, and then we're gonna pause it and hear from you on your trial a little bit later.
Yeah, so Brad Weaver, I live in Northwest Ohio, sixth generation farmer here. I bought the farm out 2026 will be the sixth season. I've been the owner of the farm, so that's been fun. Been a total acre member for 8 years. Have done probably 30 to 40 trials, I would say, over those last 8 years. It's just fun to see the new products. It's fun to see stuff work. And not everything works on our farm, but it's nice to see when things do work. And this so far working with this trial, it's been interesting. I mean, weeds. Once it got explained to us, it made more sense. But it's been interesting working with them, and it's just like you said earlier. I have a love-hate relationship with wheat, and maybe this will make me love wheat a little bit more. But we have about 330 acres of wheat out this year, so we have a lot of it, and hopefully it goes well.
Absolutely. I'm rooting for you too, Brad. It'd be nice to have a good year on some wheat. So no, definitely appreciate you putting in this trial. And yeah, I want to let everybody know too, at the end of this meeting, we're going to give a highlight to some of the growers. Some of the National Corn Growers Association entries it's been all finalized. So we know some of the yield contest winners, and we've got a few total acre members at the state level, and then again, King Hula with the national win once again. So we'll touch on that at the end of this meeting, but wanted to allow you guys to get into your presentation. I don't want to keep guys waiting too long for the knowledge that's about to come down the line. So Luis, if you want to share your screen and get into your presentation, let's go ahead and get to it.
Thanks, Bryce. I'm doing it right now. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, that's awesome. So we're here today to talk a little bit more about biologicals, to understand a little bit of how this works, why sometimes it does not work, and we can get to that later, and how BIOTROP can help you guys maximize your ROI and what you know about biologicals in general, right? So going over our agenda, we already made our introduction, right? Mateus is going to talk a little bit about BIOTROP in a bit, and we'll go over through some of our products. We'll go over through what is important to know about biologicals, what to expect from them, how to handle them, how not to get in the wrong way if you're buying something. And let's go over our trials in Ohio, our visit, our plans for trials next year, and let's open for questions and answers in the end. Okay, so Mateus, I would like to hand it over to you right now so you can talk a little bit about this amazing company that got us both addicted to it and why was that, right?
Yeah, there is a lot of passion, definitely, Luis. So just a brief background of BIOTROP for the ones who don't know yet. I don't want to get deep in the weeds here and spend much time. For the ones who want to know more about our company, our contacts will be in the end of the presentation. So reach out. We can spend more time with you talking about more about the background and the company itself and the portfolio. Okay. But important to mention here that BIOTROP is a considerably young company. It was founded in 2018 by people who have market experience. Okay, people who came from the industry, people who came from crop protection industry. So with this vision or with this mission, basically of making biologicals practicable to growers, affordable to row crop growers mainly. This was always our main focus, was the row crop. So it was born there in 2018 with the acquisition of a company called Total Bio there in Brazil. This company had already some fermentation capacity, but along the years, I think skipping forward here a little bit to 2023, which was the 50th year of the company was already making over $120 million. and was acquired by a group called BioFirst. I'll talk to you a little bit more about BioFirst in a minute, but with the acquisition of BioTrop, BioFirst became the global leader in biologicals as a biological and natural solutions player only. So I think what made the success, or most of the success, was really research, technology, discovering the new strains, going out there and being curious, collecting soils from areas that are thriving, being them a natural environment, a natural biome, or a high yielding crops, understanding what is in there, what are the microbial interactions that are happening in there, and then isolating those microbes and studying their interaction with the plant and selecting the best ones. Also, I need to talk to you about formulation and production technology, because the ways that we formulate, and Luis will get a little deeper into that. I don't want to get too deep in that right now, but the ways that we formulate, we have patents and formulation and production technology as well, right? So for you to get from above $100 million, and last year alone, 2024, just so you guys know, over 100 million acres were benefiting from being treated with our solutions. I can tell you the products really need to perform, right? And really need to be practicable to be affordable. So this year, 2025, is, as I said to you, accelerated international expansion, coming to North America commercially. BioFirst, as I mentioned, now with BioTrop becomes the global leader. So in biologicals, we are over $580 million in revenue. Classically, we had more focus in fruit, vegetable, horticulture, but now with BioTrop is the piece of the puzzle that was missing to really have a focus in row crop too. And I think the interesting part about this company as well, and Luis is going to talk to you about consistency in the products, right? So interesting thing about our company is that we manufacture our own product. And as I said, we research, so we find the new strains that we want to use. We see which ones are the best ones. And because we manufacture and we found those strains, we can keep every single batch consistent. So same strain of product, not only same species, same strain of microbe. Repeatability, right? Every single batch is the same. So if it performed, it's going to perform again, right? Production, as I mentioned to you, is very modern facilities, around 15 million gallons of installed capacity. So it's really interesting and consistent company is what I would say. Nowadays we have a little over 950 employees worldwide. 300 of them are in the field, agronomists in the field, fully dedicated to biological and natural solutions. So this is in a nutshell who BioTrop is, and now I'll give a brief overview of the portfolio and hand it over to Luis. So just so you guys understand a little bit how we segment our portfolio, globally speaking, around 65 to 7% of BioTrop's business is based on biopesticides, okay, in the left-hand side of the screen. And those are the products that are present, that are already available here in the USA. We are going through registrations and research for many others. So we have a very interesting pipeline coming up. But in general, biopesticides, nutrient solubilization, so those microbes that unlock phosphorus, potassium in the soil and also fix nitrogen. The stress management, being it a preventative stress or even post-stress situations, and finally the more basic products, which are the classic inoculants. We have a soybean and a peanut inoculant in our portfolio right now. So I'll hand it over to Luis. Thank you so much again for the opportunity. And my contacts will be in the end of the presentation. Feel free to reach out at any time. Thank you.
Thanks, Mateus. Now that we went a little bit through who BIOTROP is and what solutions we have, let's talk a little bit about the products that we believe are the ones that might be bringing most value to everyone, to growers and to their needs, right? So let's start with BioOasis. BioOasis is, in my personal opinion, the most innovative product BioTrop has ever come with so far, because we do have some really great stuff under construction, let's say. But so far, this is one of the most incredible solutions we have because, I mean, name a grower that has never dealt with drought or high temperature stress, right? Everyone has gone through that, or at least any sort of weather stressful situation to their crops. So BioOasis works on that way, on that side of things. BioOasis is a blend of 3 bacteria, okay? All of them from the genera Bacillus, but from different species, okay? And let me just open a parenthesis here and say that this is one of the most amazing things about BioTrop. Before them, all I ever heard about, or all everyone always had heard about, was I have this one product, it is this one single bacteria, this one single fungi, or whatever, and it works this way. Okay? So sometimes you use to mix different kinds of biologicals because you need the different solutions, and not always they work well together. So it was like difficult, you know? That jigsaw just never went all the way through, you know? So what BioTrop does is, okay, this microorganism works. Who is going to work best with them? You know, so let's not only work with one single microorganism, let's get those who can work together and build this incredible symbiotic relationship. Because you guys know biology is never an exact science. You can, and sometimes 1 + 1 can be 2, sometimes 1 + 1 can be 0, -1, or more than 2, even 4 or 5. So what BioTrop does is, let's look for those guys in which 1 + 1 is going to be more than 2. And this is a case of BioOasis. So most special of all, Bacillus aryabhatae. This incredible bacteria was isolated from a semi-arid environment in Brazil. It coexisted with some plants that are natural from that environment, and for many years everyone just thought, okay, so these plants, they are adapted to this place, they can live with less water than the others, and that's fine, until they started digging a little deep and researching, and then they understood those plants were there because they had this relationship with this kind of bacteria that helps them to metabolize water in a more efficient way. So, okay, let's use this in crops. But how can we make this even more powerful? So we came with these 2 other bacteria. This specific strain of Bacillus licheniformis is responsible for producing some sorts of proteins that can protect other enzymes and proteins. As you might know, high temperatures, they can degrade proteins and make them lose their functions. All enzymes are proteins, and proteins are biochemical complex molecules. So this bacteria produces a different kind of protein that can protect other proteins from high temperature stress. So we have all those enzymes being protected. Even though you're going through harsh field conditions, high temperature, you're going to have your mode of action protected. And Bacillus circulans, it helps building up the biofilm. What is a biofilm, right? A biofilm is an interesting structure produced by bacteria. It's made especially and mostly of polysaccharides, some kinds of carbohydrates, right? How does it work? All those bacteria start growing close to the plant's root. They start producing those polysaccharides and other kinds of molecules, biochemical compounds. The plant understands that environment chemically, and the plant does not understand that as a pathogen, you know? So it is not harmful for the plant. What does it do then? As you might know, this happens with a lot of other microorganisms. bean ready rhizobium in soybeans, one of them, So the bacteria has to infiltrate inside the tissue, right? When we're talking about the rhizobia. In this case, they're not infiltrating, but the plant is also understanding them as beneficial microorganisms. In exchange of that those compounds that those bacteria are producing, the plant starts giving them carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates and exudates. That's how they establish that relationship. They give the plant some hormones and other kinds of biochemical compounds and signaling, and the plant gives them exudates. So they all live together. It's a win-win situation. The biofilm is a place where all bacteria are going to coexist, and they build this chemical protection and this chemical environment that can trigger the root to grow more, that can protect plants from pathogens, depending on the strain we're talking about. And it just works in a way in which you all might know or not, but a bacteria never works alone. So in this environment, they can communicate chemically better with each other. And once one bacteria starts producing one kind of compound, be it a hormone or organic acid or an enzyme that is beneficial to the plant and to the system, all others start working together. And then we have all at once the benefit of that whole colony. Okay, this is pretty interesting, and I might be a little lost here. So how can I prove this? What we can see is in the specific case of bioases is that all those biochemical compounds that are produced by those three bacteria, they help the plant reduce stress situations. Every time a plant goes through a stressful situation, it starts producing some toxic compounds within itself. We call them reactive oxygen species, like hydrogen peroxide. That's pretty harmful, that can destroy cells and tissues. So that is a natural process that can happen even on the plant by itself, depending on the situation. If the condition is not good enough, the plant can be not in a way its metabolism is working on its best, and those things start appearing, and that's harmful. All of those things piled up together can make us lose some yield sometimes. Maybe they're inevitable, maybe they're not. So when we're talking about this product, we're talking about preventing those stressful situations. Here we can see these trials showing difference in irrigation and in some crops using and not using our product, BioOasis. And on the other hand, we have this brief time lapse showing the difference in emergence with seeds treated with BioOasis. Oh, I'm so sorry. It didn't work the way I wanted. Here. Here you go. Here you can see it. We have different amounts of water. And what you can see is we have faster emergence and germination, even with less water when using BioOasis. Oh, this is one of those miracles then. No, it is not. It is just the plant being more efficient, going through less stressful situations and being able to express its full potential. And you guys know the importance of fast emergence, right? When we're coming from a harsh winter and heading back to another, we need our crops to grow fast, the better way, and we need to harvest our best.
Luis, if I may interject, I think
Sure.
fast emergence is also like a escaping strategy from the time in which the plant is more susceptible to soil-borne disease, right? So
Yeah.
if you emerge that plant faster, you get out of that risk situation.
Yeah. This study was conducted by NC State, and one thing that was visible here is that we had an increase in water usage efficiency, and that led to a higher content of chlorophyll within the cells, within the leaves. So what does it mean? It means that with less stress, the plant respirates less or better, right? Its metabolism is working in a more efficient way. And with more chlorophyll, we can have more synthesized metabolites, synthesized carbohydrates. More carbohydrates, more yield. That's how it works in plants. I mean, being pretty straightforward, this is what we should be expecting, right? And that all leads to other effects. Here, the same study, we can see an increase in height, in dry weight, diameter, and in foliar area because we have more photoassimilates, more carbohydrates free for the plant to use and improve its own metabolism, its anatomy, its physiology, its yield. And this is a result of bioasis applied in furrow. Okay, so we can see here the same behavior: more dry weight, more total dry weight, more area, and of course more yield. So we're building a more powerful plant. And you guys know we can just build those leaves for until a certain time during corn physiology. And it gets to a point in which all the plant has to do is get those carbohydrates that are assimilated and stored in the leaves and move them to the grain. So the more leaves, the more photo assimilates, the more grain we're gonna get, right? That's what we're looking for. Okay,
Look,
and sorry, yeah, you can say.
Louis, I'm sorry to interject. Can I ask a quick question real quick?
Sure,
Because
yeah.
I think you would be the perfect one to ask this. I mean, it's related to bioasis. So what would you say is the importance of picking out specific species? Because Bacillus is the genus, right?
Yeah.
What is the importance of picking particular species uh,
Okay.
of, of a certain genus? I want some of the growers to understand
Okay.
what they're looking at.
Okay, Bryce, that's a really good question, and we are going to get there as well, but I'm going to answer your question right now. And sometimes it's not even about the correct species. Sometimes it is about the correct strain of the species, because we have, for instance, Bacillus thuringiensis. Everyone knows BT crops, right? So we have certain toxins that are produced from one strain. Okay, so Cry1AB, this comes from one strain of Bacillus thuringiensis. Cry1AF comes from another. And some of those toxins are toxic to Lepidoptera. Some are for nematodes. So knowing the correct species is the first step. You know what it does. Knowing the strain is the second step because I know what specific target I'm aiming to, okay? So just to give you an example, we have Bacillus subtilis, the most popular one, let's say. Some subtilis are capable of fixating nitrogen. Some have nematicide activity. Some are fungicides. Knowing the strain is really important. So every once in a while, if you get the chance of being offered a biological, okay, what does this bacteria do? Do you know it? But this strain, what does it do? Nobody knows everything, okay? And if they don't know, give them some time. They're going to go over their research team and then going to come with the answer to you. But they have to give you the answer because sometimes they might not be adding the value you need to your specific land, to your specific environment and situation. Okay. So it's really important to know what you're dealing with. So if I had to tell you, okay, let's look for this in a pretty straightforward way and even shallow, let's say, Bacillus subtilis is almost always going to work as promoting plants' health and development. Okay, almost always, not always, but you have to be careful about that. Okay, Bacillus lecaniformis is more connected to sometimes protecting the place, the environment where it is, but not always. Okay, and the only one that's going to be able to answer you that is the manufacturer. So that's why we keep track of everything we do and that we run trials. But I'm going to get to there in a little bit, okay? And all of this that I'm showing you, it's pretty interesting, okay? But it wouldn't be it wouldn't be useful if we couldn't have yield from that, okay? So what do we expect from bioassays in the field? These trials were all conducted in the US, and here we can see an amazing response to using this product in all kinds of environments. We have an average of 11 bushels to the acre in corn so far, and an average of around 2 bushels to the acre in soybeans. And then you might ask me something, okay, so why does it increase corn so much and soybeans not that much? Because 2 is not that high as 11. Let me tell you something. First of all this yield increase is due to improved water efficiency and of lessening the reactive oxygen species within the cells. So we are reducing stress to the plant. Second of all, corn produces carbohydrate-rich grains. So carbohydrates are simple molecules. It's pretty straightforward. The leaf produces it from photosynthesis, goes to the grain. Simple molecules. Soybeans produces more oil and protein. They are heavily charged molecules. They need a lot of work and a lot of metabolic pathways to be built, and that takes a lot of energy. That's why we always see yields in soybeans that are a lot smaller than in corn, right? Because we're talking about heavy density molecules. Producing those heavy density molecules takes a lot of energy. So even though it is hard enough, we can still see an improvement here. So in this case, 2 bushels to the acres in soybeans is a great number. Moving on a little bit, we are going to talk about Drop Shot. And Drop Shot is one of the products that we have running in trials here with wheat and cover crops, right, with you guys. So what is Drop Shot? Drop Shot is our Trichoderma arzianum. And Brad's going to talk a little bit about his trial later, but let's go over a little bit of what does it do, okay? Just so you know, Trichoderma, it was the first biological product that I have ever heard about, that I ever used, that I evaluated at first, and it is the one that I mostly recommended during my entire professional life. Why? Because Trichoderma is an amazing organism. It is a fungi, okay? So it is a beneficial fungi. And how does it work? It works working on the soil. It grows. If it doesn't have a pathogen or a crop to be close to, it's going to feed itself from organic matter. So if you have a high organic material, highly rich in organic material soil, this fungus is going to thrive by itself, it's going to colonize and leave no room for pathogens. Okay? If you use the correct strain or if you already have it in your soil, let's say. Let's talk about strains later. So what does Trichoderma do? It grows close to the plant roots, starts their interaction. All doesn't build a biofilm, okay, as bacteria does, but it grows close enough so it can have metabolic exchanges with the plant, biochemical signaling, and it grows chemically directed to pathogens. It finds pathogens like Rhizoctonia, Sclerotinia, Fusarium in the soil, just go after them and kill them. Because what does bacteria live? What does Trichoderma live off? It lives off those pathogenic fungus. Okay, in this case here, in this study conducted by Cornell, we can see the effect in root growth that Trichoderma provides us, treated with this specific strain that we have, T22. Okay, and here we can see a difference in emergence, in size and height. And especially if you look at the picture C over there, you can see better leaves, more protected leaves without diseases. Why? Because those soil-borne diseases, they can infect the plant as a whole. And Trichoderma is protecting the plant since the very beginning of its stages. So you won't have infections via roots, and that infection is not going to go up all the way to the leaves. I must say something here, okay? When I say Trichoderma controls diseases, it controls diseases. It is a natural fungicide. It works best for necrotrophic diseases. What are necrotrophic diseases? Those ones that kill the tissue, okay? So if we're talking about root rot, anthracnose, all those kind of things, trichoderma controls. If we are talking about rusts that are biotrophic pathogens, they are a little bit more complicated and you need foliar fungicides for that. Some companies and even us in Brazil, we have biological fungicides, being in the process of registration here in the US still, but we do have those solutions. But it's another technology because it's another kind of interaction with the plant, okay? So when we talk about trichoderma, we're talking specifically about necrotrophic pathogens, soil-borne diseases, okay? Or foliar diseases that can stay living in the soil over the seasons, living off organic material or crop residues. Any kind of necrotrophic pathogen, trichoderma can work on and lesser its damages, okay? And let's see some visuals here. We can see trichoderma controlling in a petri dish, both Rhizoctonia and Fusarium, the pathogen for sudden death syndrome, okay? And here on our right, we have how trichoderma does it. Trichoderma is the most complete biological product because it has 5 different modes of actions. Antibiosis, parasitism with other fungus, competes for space, for nutrients, and the best of all, induces systemic resistance in plants. Okay, this is one of my favorite topics. I'm sad that I cannot talk a little more about this, and well, we're gonna mention this in the end. But if everyone is interested in learning in depth about this, you can join our program called BioMaster. I'm gonna talk a lot about this in the end. But if you're curious about this, how does this thing work and how does it happen? Join our program. You're gonna know about it. Okay. And again, it's very interesting to talk about what all these little guys do, but what about the yield, right? So here we have a study conducted this year in North Dakota State University in soybeans. And what we saw was that trichoderma was compared to an untreated check, a biological treatment check, one of our competitors, and a chemical treatment check from well, really traditional one from one of those big chemical companies. And in all cases, drop shot has shown better yield, higher yield, and higher crop protection. Okay, so in every kind of environment, trichoderma was able to show an increase of yield. Okay, and also really interesting, always we always showed less root rot. Okay, so what we can see is that trichoderma is protecting the root and improving the plant growth, helping the plant protect itself better with the immune response and yielding more because of that. Remember, less stress, less damage, more yield. Okay. And here we have a trial conducted in peanuts by University of Georgia. And there we evaluated two products, drop shot, our trichoderma, and biomarks. This one you also have in some of your growers have it in their trials right now. And what we have seen is they are always improving yield. Okay, so we have a check, we have drop shot, we have biomarks in 3 different locations, and we are always adding value to them, always improving yield. An average of 326 pounds to the acre, actually. And all those ROIs were calculated based on this year's prices, okay, most updated prices. And we see a really interesting return on investment in this kind of product. Now, moving forward to, let's say, a different kind of product, Ferrovail and Absorbio. We're going to enter in that universe of nutrient solubilization and fixation, okay? Absorbio, which some of you guys are also going to try next spring, once these trials go to the next step, is made of 2 bacteria, Azospirillum brasiliensis and Pseudomonas fluorescens. Azospirillum is a free-living nitrogen-fixing bacteria. So what does it mean? It is not like Bradyrhizobium, that needs specifically soybeans to form the nodules. It's going to live there, it's going to fix nitrogen there. Once the crop is out, the bacteria is out. It's not. It is a free living bacteria. It lives on the soil. It is fixating nitrogen from the atmosphere, and crops can get it. It also grows closer to the roots. It also induces every sort of biochemical stimulation and secondary benefits, okay? This is how azospirillum works, fixating nitrogen. Pseudomonas is a little bit different. It works in two different ways, solubilizing phosphorus. It produces both organic acids that can bring unavailable phosphorus in the soil to an available form so plants can absorb it, or producing enzymes that can degrade organic matter and make that phosphorus available to plants. Okay, what we see is an increase of 30% in nutrient uptake when we use this blend of bacteria. 30%, especially nitrogen. Okay, and Fertavale is a really interesting product. So just a small explanation here. Absorbio, because azospirillum has a high preference for monocots, we recommend it to corn, wheat, and pastures. It works in all kinds of crops, but it works best in this kind of crops. Fertavale, we are recommending for dicots, for soybeans, for common beans, for peanuts, for even cotton, canola, and so on. Okay. So in this specific case, remember we were talking about species. So, okay, Bacillus subtilis does this, and that. This specific strain here fixates nitrogen. Bacillus circulans is responsible for unlocking and solubilizing phosphorus. And Licheniformis enhances K availability, potassium, and also helps with higher biomass and productivity. So we have three bacteria, each one working in a different nutrient. They all working together. Remember that situation, 1 + 1 is more than 2. Building that biofilm, enhancing the roots development, enhancing plant performance, getting our crop better architecture and better performance. And here we can see some results of both Absorbio and Fertavale in Indiana this year. So how did we run this trial? We used the 100% fertilizer recommendation and 75% of the fertilizer recommendation. We had the check. The check, we had 243 bushels to the acre. It's already an interesting productivity, right? And then with 100% of the fertilizer, we had 250 with Fertavale, 263 with Absorbio. Remember what I said about Absorbio having high preference for monocots? So corn gets a lot of benefit from this. Mateus, do you want to jump in real quick?
I just want to make very clear here, Luis, that the check plot had the 100% fertilization,
Oh,
right?
yeah, that's
So it
right.
was not that the check didn't have fertilization. The check is a fertilized check with the same
Yeah.
amount as the columns where you see 100% fertilizer. So between check and 100% fertilizer, the only difference is having or not having the nutrient solubilizers from our portfolio.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you for making that clear. I'm sorry that I forgot about it. I got carried away talking about it. Okay. So Fertavale also increased the productivity of corn. And you can see a strange behavior here, right? So in 75% of fertilizer, Fertavale enhanced even more the productivity, right? So remember, Absorbio, 100% fertilizer plus Absorbio had the highest yield. Why? Because that bacteria is not only fixating nitrogen, but is increasing the efficiency, the way the plant absorbs nitrogen. So you're getting all your mineral fertilizer plus what it comes from the atmosphere, and you're having more yield. Fertavale also works well in both cases here. And we had to run this trial like this to evaluate its potential, right? With 100% fertilizer and 75. And we as a company, we do not recommend you changing your fertilization program unless you try it first, because it's going to depend on the soil, on the situation. Sometimes you're going to get the higher yield from the full fertilization program. Sometimes you're going to get the higher yield from the smaller one, but it all depends on your environment. So you should try it out for yourself in both scenarios, okay? In this specific case, why do we see something like this? As I have mentioned before, the relationship between plant and bacteria gets established via biochemical signaling and communication. When the plant needs to go after the environment, after what it needs, it starts producing different exudates in its roots. Those exudates are the chemical signaling that activate the bacteria. So in this case, if the plant didn't have the full nutrition program that it needed, those bacteria got triggered and started working together to provide it to the plant. Okay? But it also depends on the soil. So if you want to try it out, okay. Mateus, jump in real quick here.
Sorry, I raised my hand by accident.
Oh, okay. No worries. So what I'm saying is we have the potential here in this product. First of all, it's going to increase your yield. Okay. This bacteria work solubilizing nutrients, unlocking them, making them available. What is going to tell you if you can reduce or not your fertilization rates is your whole practice in your soil, your environment. You should try it out for yourself. But if you just want to use it, let's say as an insurance, okay, I'm using this product and I'm using my fertilizer, I'm going to have higher yield because I'm increasing my efficiency. That's what it's made for. Okay. And we can see here an incredible increase of an average 11 bushels to the acre in corn. This is an average of both trials, okay? So you're gonna have a higher average from azospirillum absorbed. And we got to one of the most demanded topics of this presentation, I guess, right, Bryce? Correct me if I'm wrong. How to avoid
Correct.
buying wrong biologicals and most effectively handle these products. We were talking about species, right, and strains. So as you can see, every company has or should have the control of the strain it is producing and delivering to you. Because Mateus uses an interesting comparison. Okay, so if I'm selling you a dog and I can say, okay, this is my dog, you want a pit bull and I give you a chihuahua, it's a dog, right?
At the species level is the same.
A species
Okay,
level is the
Bryce. So
same.
you ask about genus. So imagine genus is even higher. I would imagine I'm not don't have that from the top of my mind, but I
Yeah,
would imagine a wolf and a dog is the same genus, right? But
yeah.
go ahead, sorry.
And no worries. And I mean, if you don't specify, no, man, I want a pit bull and I want this pedigree over here. Okay? So what we are doing is, as we are the owners of our own manufacturing facility, as we have our own team isolating these microorganisms from high yielding soils, from natural soils, from all the kinds of environment you can imagine, we know specifically what strain we are using. Okay. And I have to be pretty clear about something here. We always get a question, and everyone is always going to be questioned about, okay, I'm using biologicals, right? That's really good. I see results. I'm liking it. I like it. So will I any day be able to stop using them? As I built my fertility, some years I can take it off, and I don't know. Why should I use biologicals every single year if I'm always using them, if I'm growing that population? And why shouldn't I just use practices that enhance my natural biology? First of all, do those practices. They are highly important. We cannot achieve high yields if we don't do those practices. The crop rotation, the cover crops, the no-tillage system, that is all, in my personal opinion, mandatory. We can see the example from Brazil. Brazil 40 years ago was no one in agriculture. Now we have like the greatest yields we can have, and major coffee exporter, major soybean exporter, because we invested in our soils over these last 40 years with these practices. So everyone has something to learn from that. Um, I mean, it's all an exchange, right? We learned something from you guys that helped us a lot, and now we're here giving something back with biologicals. Um, and why shouldn't I just build my natural population? Why? Let me tell you, give you an information. Uh, 1 gram of soil, you know what 1 gram is? 1 ounce has 28 grams. Okay, so let's imagine this. 1 gram of soil has over 1 million different microorganisms. Okay, so when I'm using a specific biologic product, I have to put it as close to the seed or to the leaf as I can, so it can colonize the plant. Once it gets close to the root, to the seed, to the leaf, it starts colonizing the plant, and I have the full benefit of that biological over all those other millions that are out there. Okay? Once the crop is not there anymore, I harvested my crop. I have my field free for the next season. I have nothing going on. All those biologicals, they start, let's say, getting back to a more general population. You have Bacillus subtilis in your soil. Our strain is there, but once you have no crop to promote its growth and to protect it, let's say, to prefer that one to grow, maybe its population is going to go down a little, and next year you still have it, but you don't have as much as you used to. So what are we doing? We are colonizing soil with the bacteria and fungus that are specifically special to us, with the ones that bring value to us. Oh, but they're not natural from my environment. Neither are the crops, right? Neither are the crops. The crops we are planting, they were not natural to our environments years ago, but now they are. And we have high yields. We have high quality crops because we did our job. We breeded them, we improved our practices, and we got there. And the same thing is with biologicals. Choose the correct ones, okay? And how are we going to be able to know the correct ones? First of all, get a good manufacturer and do your homework. Try for yourself, okay? So species is important, strain is even more important. Get that information from your provider, okay? And see it for yourself, okay? Every manufacturer should give you a chart showing compatibility with chemicals or other biologicals, and you should be able to know which ones you can mix, okay? This we provide you with this information in every single of our products, okay? And something nice about Biotrop. When we talk about bacillus and other kinds of bacteria, we're talking about the ability of building and promoting um, resistance cells, resistance forms. Okay, so not all bacteria are able to do that. For instance, Bradyrhizobium does not produce endospores, which are the protective, the resistance cells for bacteria to survive in the environment. Bacillus, they do. Okay, so why does Biotrop select those specific species to work with? Because we know that if they produce endospores, first they have to do their job. Okay, so they enhance my yield. Okay, that's fine. Are they able to produce endospores? Yes, they are. Okay, so now we can provide you guys with a product that has higher shelf life and that can go tank mixed with anything, fertilizer, fungicide, herbicide, whatever, because the bacteria is protected within that that I'm sorry, it is protected in that resistance cell, okay? And we go a step forward than that. It's not only selecting the bacteria that is able to produce the endospore. We have our own methods, industrial methods that can stress that bacteria during the process of fermentation and make them produce even more endospores. Okay, so we are doing our best here to provide you guys with a product that if you don't use this year, you will be able to use it next year. If you use it in a harsh environmental condition. It's going to be there once the crop starts emerging, once the environment is able to provide enough moisture or whatever it is that the bacteria needs to thrive. Okay, so we're giving you an insurance on this. And most important of all, in my personal opinion, is the tank mix capability. Because I am back in my day, let me sound like a really more mature person here. Back in the day when I started working with biologicals, we had to have in our farms freezers and refrigerators to store those things because they were sensitive enough. And I mean they weren't, we had to keep them under in low temperatures because otherwise they were going to lose their ability to thrive and to colonize our crops and our soils. So you know how it is. You already have to worry about so many things in a farm. You're going to have to worry about storing your products in a cool environment, having a refrigerator specific to that thing, not being able to tank mix that with whatever crop protection products you're using. You're going to run over your field again. So that's one of the things that made BIOTROP grow so fast. We have the biological solution, but we are always not getting in your way of running your business. Okay, so if you have to spray a herbicide, do it. You can do it with our product. Oh, you want to put it in furrow, do it with whatever fertilizer. You want to treat your seed, okay, do it with whatever chemical. Okay, so because we have this protection, this resistance cell, this resistance form, we can protect our product. That's a way to make a farmer's life easier. And that's why we got so lucky and glad that we started working with BIOTROP back there. Now, talking about best practices for biologicals, follow the manufacturer's instructions. So every product is a different product. Ours can be stored in a normal condition. You're gonna get 24 months of shelf life for most of them. The ones that demand a little higher care, we're gonna let you know. It's just a few. But most biologicals, they need special handling, okay? And it all depends. If you're talking about virus, for instance, and I really love virus for Lepidoptera control, they need to be kept frost. It's only the way it is, okay? So choose your provider correctly and follow the manufacturer's instructions. Do not store under direct sunlight or near heat sources, especially fungus, okay? So fungus are more delicate to heat and to sunlight. Bacteria, they can tolerate higher temperatures, that's for sure, but direct sunlight is not good for anyone. So keep it under a shade, okay? Do not use highly chlorinated water. Tap water is okay, but high levels of chlorine can compromise your product. Avoid storing the spray solution overnight. Prepare only the volume required for the same application period. Why? Once you put those living things inside water solution, they're going to start germinating most of the times. And if they start germinating and they don't find what they need, which is the soil or the plant, they might lose its effectiveness. So if you want full effectiveness, you make your solution, you spray it, and on the same day, okay? Apply under appropriate environmental conditions, temperature, humidity, and speed. And that's not only for biologicals, that is also for chemicals. So think of it as a crop protection product. I have to follow best practices, okay? And as we are talking about best practices, use appropriate personal protective equipment. But there are still crop protection products, and we must use our best practices, protect ourselves when we're handling anything. So use your PPE, okay? Now, let's move on to the next session of our presentation and talk a little bit about the visits we had in Ohio last month. Here we can see this is your trial, right, Brad?
Yes, I believe so.
Yes, it is. So we got your, do you want to talk a little bit about this and then I can move forward?
Yeah. So, driving 55 mile an hour down the road, you're not going to see a whole lot. Once we got out in the field, we did some root digs, several different places. we noticed that the control might have been a little bit taller, but a little more lime green. I'm going to say a little bit of a lighter green. Then we got to the trial, and another farmer just south of us were doing the same trial, and we called and talked. We were kind of concerned that our wheat was shorter, but then once we got to look at the root development, our root development was a lot more, and we had a lot darker green, and the shoots and the leaves were they were probably twice as wide as the control. So that was something very interesting that you don't see driving through the road, but that once we got out in the field, we're like, wow, this product's actually doing something, and we didn't have the control and the trial mixed up. Then you explain your science, and it all made a lot more sense after our visit.
That's great, Brad. The darker green is because we are getting the plant to be more efficient in photosynthetic ways. The better root system, and maybe sometimes, as I told you, sometimes when using trichoderma, at first you see that maybe the height is not that higher as the other one, but it is because the plant is using its energy to grow more roots, right? And the thickness of the stems, as you said, that's the plant being using its energy in a smart way, building architecture, right? So it's going to get to a point in which, okay, oh, maybe now they have the same height, and but all those differences in morphology in the beginning of the crop are going to lead us to a higher yield later. So it's a way of the plant to prepare itself. And most important is once spring comes and you are going to start scouting for head blight, you're going to see a lot smaller pressure of head blight in your wheat treated with drop shot than the other. I'm pretty sure of that.
Yeah, if you don't mind, could you talk
Sure.
about the treatments Brad had on that trial, just so everybody knows the products and when it was planted, Brad, as well?
So we're doing the Simterra, which is seed treatment as well, plus the Trop Shot planter box. This wheat was planted October 2nd, so not real early, but it was planted in good conditions. And like I said, we did the seed treatment over the top, and then the planter box treatment as well.
Awesome.
Great.
Did you want to comment on the first product, the seed treatment, Luis, because that's going to transition to biomarks, right?
Yeah. Biomarks is one of our is one product that it's a fertilizer plus yeast extracts, and it works as a stress recovery product.
Awesome.
That's what
Yeah,
it
I
does.
felt like I appreciate that. That was useful information. I'm curious to hear what you had seen on the other Ohio plot that might be on the next slide.
Yes, it is. In this case, we got a fewer plants, but we can see, depending on the stage development, we can see that the plants are both taller and with more roots. So it is the products working together, boosting the plant's metabolism and bringing them faster. So, but what we should see at first when we're using these products is, of course, better root development. And if we have more roots, we're gonna have more water absorbance, we're gonna have more nutrient uptake, and we're providing our crop with the tools it needs to yield more, and also with the benefit of crop protection for as a fungicide, as trichoderma does.
I was going to ask you, Luis,
Yeah,
on the Biomarks product now, it's a combination of micronutrients and yeast extracts, right?
yeah.
Yes.
Um, so the combination, can you talk a little bit why the specific micronutrients were targeted for that product? Because I think that's interesting.
Yeah, okay. So basically, I mean, the most important nutrient there is sulfur, right? And sulfur is important because it's part of protein construction, especially those high complex ones that have enzymatic functions. So if we have uh, a correct and good source of sulfur, we're gonna see that we can give the plant the tools it needs to produce more, to protect itself more, to build more tissue, stronger tissue to protect itself against the environment. That's why we work with that. And those yeast extracts, I mean, we fermentate the bacteria and then we use that, what Mateus calls juice, right? We use that to formulate the product, and we have some benefits that come with that.
Including nutritional benefits, right? Because
Yes, including nutritional benefits.
protein yeast hydrolysates is rich in nitrogen, so there are a lot of nutritional benefits there.
Yeah. And something that you might know is although the plant absorbs, we all know it, right? We need the mineral forms of nutrients to be absorbed by the roots, but organic forms can be absorbed by leaves, right? So, and organic forms always are easier to absorb, right?
Mm.
So in this case, even though it is a seed treatment and we're not spraying it, why did I say about the leaves? Because biomarkers can also be sprayed up to V3 or V4, depending on the crop. When we are providing the plant with organic forms of nutrients, the plant can absorb them in an easy way. So it does not have to spend energy transforming the nutrient from a mineral to an organic way, so it can absorb. It is easier. So it's just like injecting it in the plant's vein, as we would say back in Brazil, right?
Mhm.
And now going over our plans for next year, as you said, we're planning over 50 trials for next year, both corn and soybeans, and those are the products that we want to provide you guys so you can get to know it on your own terms, on your own environment, on your own soil, and see it with your own eyes. So Absorbio and Bioasis, Nutraveil and Magnotrap. And Magnotrap is a really interesting product. It's an essential oil product with pneumatic side effects. We have seen some great results in cotton this year, and we want it to be possible to everyone to try it for a taker as well. And soybeans, all the same products, but Fertavail instead of Absorbio, because these are the products we believe are going to bring most value to your crops. And now we have got to the end of our presentation. I'm going to open for questions and answers if you guys want to.
Luis,
Yeah.
just leave them with our contacts on the screen, just in
Here it
case
is.
someone uh, wants to know any other information. And as Luis said, we're having a very in-depth technical training every Friday morning. We will pause now for Christmas and New Year, but from the second Friday of the year, right? The 9th, January the 9th, we'll be back on that. And so send us an email if you want to be part of that and learn more in depth. What Luis said here is just the surface, right? He goes way more in depth there in this
Yeah.
training program. So email us, please, if you want to be part of that, or if you want to know anything else about the products. And now,
Yeah.
sorry, we go for the questions. Just my final remarks here.
No,
Yeah.
I also want to add that this program Matheus is talking about is called BioMaster. BioTrop does it in Brazil for over 3 or 4 years now. It is a program and continuing education program that the company provides to its employees in a technical way so they can improve their knowledge, sometimes to some customers if they want to know more about it. So it's not a commercial thing, okay? So buy this product, this is going to be the best fit for you. It's like, hey, this is this bacteria, this is how it works. Okay, so it's understanding more biologicals. Here
Very,
for
very
the US, we
technical.
designed a really great course. I'm not the only one speaking. We have several specialists talking. Everyone has a PhD or even higher, so you guys can expect a lot of information and education from that. And it is a CCU credit course, so you can, if you guys need some credits, you can have them. And the greatest benefit of all is totally free. You just have to spend 2 hours a week with us, listening to us, and you're gonna get the most benefit of it. So I can put the link here in the chat. So if anyone wants to join us later, or as Matteo said, you can reach out to us either by phone or by email, and we can let you guys in. So
Yeah.
if you don't
I
mind,
appreciate you, I
Sorry.
appreciate you mentioning that, Luis. I can attest that I would say it's worth it. I mean, getting to jump in on the one last week, I think you did a great job. It's a very technical presentation. It's not pitchy whatsoever. So I would say it's definitely worthwhile for some folks to jump in. You wouldn't happen to have the schedule of topics that you're going to go through
Yeah, I
on you, do
have.
you? Okay,
I
maybe that
have.
might be worth showing.
Okay, so if you don't mind, let me just choose.
While Luis is searching for that, Brad, do you have your hands up? Do you
Yeah,
wanted to comment
I have a
something
quick
else?
question for you guys. Um, Several products are you can put on for seed for an overseed treatment. You can put in furrow. You can spray over the top. Have you seen? Is one better than the other, or is there like a best, good, not so good? Where would you like to see that, or does it not really matter?
Depends on the product and on the expected effect, I would say, Brad. So I'm gonna give you an example here. And Luis, you correct if I'm wrong here. Um, but for example, as we were talking about bioases, right, earlier in this presentation, this product has it's labeled for the three, right? Seed treatment, in furrow and foliar, right? So if you're gonna do the foliar, you do the earlier the better, right? With the leaves, it will have some absorption by the leaves, but the thing is that always when you put these type of products that are alive and colonizing roots, the closer to the roots you put, typically the better it does, right? Because it's going to grow with the roots and colonize the roots. This is the effect that you're seeing in your field treated with a drop shot, right? We have others like biomark, like Luis was saying, that when you spray on the leaves, you have nutrient absorption already by the leaves, you know. So that product, for nutritional purposes, it's great when foliar sprayed, right? So this is the why we have our crop program. So each of the crops we have like manage a suggested management program with the products that we specify which products can or best use it in furrow or seed treated, versus which ones you should do foliar. Okay. So again, just to summarize, when the product has live microbes and the spores that Luis was mentioning, the earlier the better, but still has interesting effects on for bioases, for example, when treated over the top, uh, and V2, V3, I think is ideal. Correct, Luis?
That's correct.
Good deal. Do you mind if I give you a question from Dave Schrock?
Sure.
It's also one that I was actually wondering about. So he said, Trop Shot, does it have any activity on tar spot? Obviously, tar spot's known to carry over in the soil and in residue. So he was wondering if the trichoderma had any effect on tar spot. Because your comment earlier, which I found interesting as well, you said Trop Shot is especially effective on soil-borne diseases. So, I mean, not as effective on southern rust, correct? Which is interesting. So, some of your root rots, does it have effects on nematodes? And then, not to get away from Dave Schrock's comment on tar
Mhm.
spot.
Yeah. Okay. So we have several studies, updated studies, that show that trichoderma has effects on root lesion nematode. Okay. So it's not going to be like I'm going to use it this year and I'm going to get rid of that. No. But I have seen it happen in the farms that I used to work on. So after 3 years using it, we we started seeing the benefits on root lesion nematodes. Okay. Talking about trichoderma. And
Yeah.
some diseases, let me use the example. I have seen, for instance, as for target spot in cotton and in soybeans, we saw that we had a lesser pressure. I mean, we used to have high pressure of those diseases, and as we started using trichoderma on our crops, that pressure started to be lighter. We didn't see that issue with target spot because target spot has two phases, one in the leaves and one in the soil. Okay. So what I can tell you is if tar spot is something that survives in the soil, it's not like a rust, it will sure have some effect. We should try it to see, because star spot is something, at least for me, it is new because it's something here from the US and I have been here for just a year or so, but we should see it on the field. And if it is surviving on crop residue from one year to the other, it is going to have a good effect. That is for sure. Okay. And
And
some really great information that we know, and this is pretty recent as well, maybe from last year or 2 years ago, some studies showing that trichoderma helps soybeans nodulate more. So even if you have your natural rhizobia in your soil, or if you use inoculants, once you treat soybeans with trichoderma, they get more nodules. That's pretty interesting because they start also one microorganism benefiting from the other. So that was pretty interesting to me, pretty unusual in the way that I would never imagine that, but that's something that has been consistently being proved through studies. So another great information about trichoderma.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Yeah, it sounds like Dave Schrock just signed himself up for a trial. So good job.
Thanks, David.
So,
And
yeah.
and Bryce, just to complement what Luis said, this is the hypothesis that we're testing right now with the cover crop trial, right? So Luis said there are diseases that will survive in the soil until the crop is there in the next season. So our point is by trichoderma being so aggressive in terms of predating the other the pathogenic fungus, um, when it is surviving throughout the fall and winter with the cover crop, can that clean that soil, right? Along those cold months. So when you plant your crop, you don't even need that to develop the population at that time because you have the population already there, developed and healthy and uh, predating those pathogenic microorganisms for a couple months already, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's I'm really interested to see how the cover crop trials will turn out. Is that, along the lines of that thought process right there? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Now, last question I have, and I'm going to cut myself off. I saw Trop Shot 2.0 and then Trop Shot. What's the difference between those?
It's a
We
difference in formulations. Mateus, you can explain better.
Yeah, we enhanced that formulation. So there are two different formulations. One of them is a more hydrophobic formulation, let's say. So the 2.0 is a newer formulation because we were seeing uh, some water moisture absorption, right, from the air because the other one was also water dilutable. So you could apply that as a dry or dilute it in water, right? So the new one, the 2.0, is just a dry application because then it's water repellent. It won't absorb moisture from the air. It was not that the previous one would absorb moisture from any situation, but when you had those days with really high moisture and then you have the night, right, and it condenses water inside a planter box, for example, you could have some issues there. So the new formulation is now more specific for dry application, and the past formulation more specific for dilute applications that require dilution. This is the right way of putting it.
Okay.
So quick question here. Trop Shot, we can mix that with our talc graphite mix. We can't replace our talc graphite mix with this yet, correct?
That's correct for the time being, Brad. We're having some studies about that going on right now, and we'll come up with the news as soon as we have them. But we're studying a little better before making a statement here.
Yeah, I mean, as a previous customer and as a farmer, I would like to say that something that is valuable about any company is when the company listens to your needs, right? So I keep saying this. We need to make farmers' life easier. We have already enough to be looking after, to be worried about, right? So we don't need to worry about something else. So This formulation thing. Oh, okay. So in my specific situation, I had an issue. Okay, let's work on that. Let's make it happen for you. We don't want you changing the way you do things because of us. Okay. Oh, can we change our graphite? Really, we don't quite know yet, but after we try it, we're gonna let you know. And if there is any possibility of that becoming a reality, we're gonna make it happen because we want to bring you real solutions. Okay.
Well, Brad, I had a question for you actually. In running the trial, how would you say, the products, how were they easy to use? I mean, did it fit into your program really well? What did you like about the products?
Yeah, I mean it wasn't a problem using them at all. The seed treatment, the Ryan Oots, we got our seed wheat from him, and he said it mixed fine for the overtop the seed treatment and just adding the drop shot in. It's just like graphite. We just put it. I mean, we're running a bulk fill planter. I added some in as we filled it up, and then we put some in the top and just stirred it in with a stick. So I mean, it's just like using a talc graphite. There was no problems with it whatsoever.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, Ryan just commented and said no issues with treating too. So second that. Awesome. All right. Well, I know we've gotten a little long on this. If anybody else has questions, you can either contact Luis and Matthias on with their contact information that you saw on the screen previously, or you can email us and we'll get those questions over to those guys. But just want to say thank you to each one of you, Brad, Luis, Matthias. Thank you for your time today. Thought it was very useful and applicable. So really appreciate your time and hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and that they've gotten their shopping done, especially for the wives.
Right.
Merry
Thank
Christmas.
y'all.
Thank you so much again, and have a very good Christmas and year end. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank y'all.
It's been great working with you. I really appreciate all the opportunities here.
Absolutely. We're very excited. So y'all have a Merry Christmas.
Merry
Bye.
Christmas. Bye bye.